This podcast is brought to you by Spotify for podcasters. Have you yourself ever wanted to become a podcaster? Well, Spotify makes it simple and easy to do so. You can record, edit, and even distribute your podcast straight from their app. The best part? It is absolutely 100% free. Visit their website, podcasters.spotify.com, for more details, and download the app on your Apple or Android devices today to get started on your podcasting adventure. That's Spotify for podcasters. What's going on, guys? Travis Fowler Harkrider here, back with another interview, and I have the pleasure of interviewing somebody that I actually watched at my very first independent wrestling show ever, and I thought he was extremely talented then. He's gone on to show just how talented he is all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking with New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong star and a member of the Stray Dogs, none other than 50 caliber Barrett Brown. Barrett, thank you so much for taking some time today, man. I appreciate
thank you,
it,
man. Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. I'm kind of jealous of those pants you got on, man. Those some stylish HBK pants you got going on.
You know, it's WrestleMania Saturday night, so we're filming this on WrestleMania Saturday, so April 1st. And yeah, I was like, I'm gonna break out some Mania pants today.
Oh, you look great, man. No, I love it. I love it. And I didn't realize that I was on the first show that you ever watched for independent wrestling. That's awesome.
Yeah, actually, it was the very first WFC show I ever attended. Was my first, I guess I should say, my first working show.
Okay, gotcha.
And that was the commentary debut for me, and being with CM Burnham that night. And we called you and Aaron Anders, actually, for the first match. December 2016 was the first time I watched you.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
Isn't it? Like, yeah. I can't believe I've actually been in wrestling for now, I think 6 years is what I hit, and you've been doing it, what, over a decade now, haven't you?
I hit 13 years this January.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because I started when I was 15 years old, just small town in Texas. I was trained just like in the backyard of a guy that graduated with my mom, and he happened to be a local hero wrestler in the area, and just as a surprise, my parents paid for training, and I was just a little 15-year-old kid with a dream, and I just, I think that he really, the mindset in my head for him was kind of like, okay, I'm going to, take this kid's parents' money and beat him up a little bit, send him on his way. But I kept showing back up to a point where he was like, shoot, he actually cares about this. Like, he actually wants it. So I'll actually, take him to shows, and started traveling around Texas. But it really wasn't until I turned 18 whenever I could get like a wrestling license legally and travel, when it was, things really started taking off.
Awesome. I love hearing stuff like that. You actually took the first question I had, was because I don't think you and I have actually ever sat down and had a lot of conversations about your start in wrestling. We've always just, anytime I've seen you, you've always been awesome to just approach and BS about anything going on. And I remember saying to you on one of the shows I saw you in, I just had a feeling that something big was happening, just because I saw so much star power with you, with just your moveset and how you handled yourself. So it's awesome to hear just roots of that. So you said you started about 13 years ago, and I thought I saw at one time you had gotten to a point in your career where maybe wrestling wasn't for you. How long did it take, I guess, to go from having that dream to then thinking that maybe this wasn't something you were going to do?
Right, man. So it was about 6 years in. It just hit a point where, I did some cool things, and then like some of those cool things kind of fizzled out. And in 2016, there was a point in time where I was like, man, I'm just in this rut. I'm just doing my thing. I'm spinning my wheels, and just things weren't really progressing for me at the time. And I thought, if the things that I've done, because I did TV at the time, I'd done some cool things. But I was like, if this isn't for me, like, I'm still young. I can step out and find something else. But when I really started to doubt it, it was maybe a week later that I got my first email to go do extra talent for WWE.
Oh, wow.
And that led to the Braun Strowman match. And then I was like, okay, I get it. There's a sign. Like, maybe I'm not done.
Right.
But the funny thing is, when the pandemic hit, wrestling obviously was put on hold for everybody at the time.
Right.
And again, that thought creeped in. But really what drove it in was when Killer Tim Brooks, I consider my true first mentor, because he really taught me, not that Cody Cunningham, not that he didn't, start me out, but Cody was like the grassroots, but Killer Tim Brooks really instilled the fundamentals of this business into my head. Like, if New Japan built the tower, it's on the foundation of Killer Tim Brooks.
Gotcha.
So Killer Tim Brooks really taught me the foundation of this business, and it was when the pandemic was ongoing and wrestling was paused, he passed away, and just for some reason, man, that really, like, it really affected me big. Like, just because, and one reason was he always told me, he always kept asking me, kid, have you been to Japan yet? He knew that was my dream. And I so badly wanted to tell him, like, Killer, I did it, before he passed.
Right.
But I didn't get to do that. And it affected me so much that I had to go sit on my couch and just have like a 30-minute talk and just be like, look, I need a sign. Like, if I need to stop working in the ring and focus on being a trainer, and if that's how I give back to this business, then that's what I'll do. But I just need a sign.
Right.
I kid you not, 2 hours later, Rocky Romero called me to go work at New Japan Strong.
Oh, wow. That's a crazy timing.
Yeah, nuts.
I tell you what, before, I know we kind of jumped around a little bit here, so I kind of want to go back a little bit and start at the beginning, like you were talking about with your training. How you said you got involved with this on a lot of the old school mentality that I've seen, where you have guys that are training guys, but more so, as it's always been heard, that they beat you out of training, essentially, that they exhaust you. So you said you kept coming back. Where did you start your training process? Who was your first trainer, and what made you just keep coming back and taking the quote-unquote abuse?
So my first trainer, his name is Cody Cunningham. He used to wrestle under the name Cody Knight. He was kind of just like a local hero wrestler. And it wasn't so much, that he was like beating me up or like just trying to take my parents' money, but he wanted to see like where my mentality was, where my physical aspect was, and how much I actually cared about it. Because when he would bring guys out, whenever he really trusted me and we started to form a bond, we would test guys, because we didn't want guys that didn't really care about this, involved with us. If we wanted to break somebody in, we wanted to know that they cared. And I mean, he put me through that same process. And I'm glad that he did, because, it opened my eyes to what I should have expected later on. And, going from like him to Killer Tim Brooks, like, Killer's rough, Killer Tim Brooks, he was hardcore. He was a hardcore trainer, but he was one of the best trainers I've ever had because of that. And, there are a lot of aspects to it, like a lot of the little minor details that really no one understands.
Right.
But that was what Killer really opened my eyes up to, was to the finer aspects of the business.
Oh, that's great to hear. And I'm glad you've got that kind of mentorship that kept you in this business. That's it. I've seen, like I said, seen your talent since 2016, and it's awesome to see how you flourished since then. Let's go back to around that time frame that you started getting things that were really clicking for you.
Yeah.
Did you start feeling like your purpose was more than, like you were saying, potentially just being a trainer, and you felt something different was in the air once you obviously got that call?
Yeah.
But where did you think the turning point was? Was it when you had that conversation with yourself of sticking with it? Was that the realization, or was there another thing that followed that where it was like, no, I definitely know I need to keep going?
So I think like there have been milestones in my career where like things have like kind of progressed me and my mentality. So that conversation and that phone call definitely was one of them. And obviously we're working for New Japan, working some of the best in the world. Like, that kept me on the right track. But I would say, if I had to say recently, the match that I had shoot, man, it's going to be a year to the day in 2 days. I can't believe it.
I know which one you're talking about.
But when I wrestled Minoru Suzuki,
unbelievable.
Absolutely, like, it to this day, the best match I've ever had. And I don't know, I usually get nervous for matches. Like, for example, tonight, when this airs, is April 1st, I'm wrestling Alex Royal tonight. Phenomenal talent. More people should know Alex Royal. So shout out Alex Royal for being a phenomenal unknown athlete. You're great, man.
You're going to learn about Alex Royal in the future, I promise.
100%. But I usually get nervous. Like right now, I'm nervous, but the nerves mean that you care.
Right.
With Suzuki, it transcended that. It was an odd stillness in the air. And I don't want to pull back the curtain too much, but that day, Suzuki and I had our own dressing room. I spent 3 hours alone with Minoru Suzuki that night. And just to learn about the man behind the aura of Minoru Suzuki,
Mm-hmm.
and then to wrestle that man and hold my own and to prove to a lot of people like how far I'd come. Like, people that had seen me from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
that had seen me now, like this bald headed 15-year-old kid that was just with a dream. Now this grown man that's actually standing toe to toe with the Grim Reaper of professional wrestling.
Right.
And to prove my worth, and then to hear Suzuki-san say after the match, I very much enjoy that match. Thank you. You are very good.
Oh,
That was like, for me at that point, I was like, if I had to for some reason stop tomorrow, I'd be happy just because of that conversation.
I know you actually sent that match to me personally because I was down in Dallas last year, but I had to drive back. Oh. And I remember shooting you the message being like, dude, I can't believe you're actually taking on Suzuki in this one. Right. And then I remember saying, God, I wish I could see that. And then the next thing I know, I think the next day you shot me the match. And I was like, get the F out. That's awesome. Yeah. And it was awesome to watch the match. So before we talk about what you've been up to and what's going to happen going forward, talk about how going to New Japan has really changed, if any, your outlook on wrestling, and maybe even, I don't want to use the phrase strong style because I think it's overused. But has it changed your game at all? Do you feel more adapted to that quote unquote strong style, or do you think you've just added more to a style that you were trying to do of your own?
I think it's a weird mix of both, just because, again, I built that foundation that I never want to get rid of, but the tower that is built upon it, I feel like I've added more stories to that tower in a way, just because I've learned so many finer, intricate details about the way strong style is supposed to be done. And I feel like there's kind of a misconception about strong style in a lot of places, like a lot of the states. They think, like you have to actually try to knock your opponent out. And it's not like, that's not all it is. You'll see me a lot of the time, like showing my emotion, my facials, my intensity. Like, fighting spirit and the strong style is more about the finer details between what you do and showing that fighting spirit and finding the way to own those moments where that's how you connect with the people. Mm-hmm. Because for me, the difference between, let's say MMA or boxing, for example. You go to MMA or boxing to watch a complete knockout, but you come to professional wrestling to feel something. Mm-hmm. Like, and for me, it's like, if I can create a moment that these people will feel, then that's what it means. That's what it means the most to me, because I can watch a match back, like let's say Undertaker CM Punk from WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. I don't remember any of the match, but what I do remember is CM Punk having an anaconda device on Undertaker and him sitting up and looking at it.
Yes.
And it was a sit-up, dude. He did a sit-up, and that's what I remember. Mm-hmm. But that was a moment that I was like, oh, it just like, it was just about those moments. And I feel like that strong style fighting spirit, that's more of what that's about. It's about evoking that emotion to a point where they can feel it. Mm-hmm. And just working with those guys who not only want to improve, but want everyone else to improve so that the overall product is better. Mm-hmm. Just being around those guys has made me tremendously better.
I honestly, I can't disagree with anything you said there. I've been doing a little bit of training myself. Yeah. And something that I've learned from it is that it is more about, wrestling was supposed to invoke an emotion out of you, as opposed to doing move for move for move without real meaning behind it. Right. And I love learning the intricacies about that, because that's, like you said, the little details that people maybe aren't aware of. Yeah. So I'm not going to keep too much more of your time. You've been doing a great favor to me, just sitting down and talking.
No, have a great time.
So we'll kind of start wrapping things up just a little bit here. Obviously, you're still doing stuff with New Japan. Right. Can you tell us if there's anything else in the works, maybe? Are you maybe looking at other places to go and accomplish things at? Or do you think you're going to stick with New Japan and do the NJPW Strong for a little while longer and just really develop a footing there like you've already done with the Stray Dogs?
I mean, I'll be honest, it's kind of day by day for me. I love what myself and the Stray Dog Army are doing at Strong. I love Bateman and Mysterioso. It's kind of like day by day. I know that, the format of Strong has kind of changed to more of a big American show format, which uses most of like the signed guys, which technically myself, I'm on verbal agreement, not so much like on paper contracted. So
sure,
I haven't been there in a while, but I did have a conversation recently with somebody from the office. I may be back very soon.
Awesome.
I know that previously it was mentioned that there is a possible trip to Japan that could happen sometime soon. I'm hopeful for that. I don't want to, I want to knock on wood before
Yeah,
anything,
absolutely.
before I jinx anything. But obviously, I would want to. If I'm going to go to Japan to wrestle, I would prefer to do it under the New Japan banner. Because I made a recent Facebook post. Like, my goals are to go to Japan to wrestle. I want to wrestle in Korakuen Hall, and I want to get that dadgum Red Ribera Steakhouse jacket, man. Like, I want it so bad. But I mean, like, an ultimate dream would obviously be Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom.
Gotcha.
Like, let's go. Like that and the IWGP Junior Heavyweight, obviously 2 dream goals. But if I can go to Japan and wrestle in Korakuen, I'd be so happy to do that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that could happen. Maybe this year. We'll see what happens.
I hope nothing but the best. 2 more questions and we'll let you
you're
go.
Good, man.
First up, tell everybody, and it's not, I guess, more so of a question, but where are you going to be? Tell people where they can find you, social media-wise, event-wise coming up. Put yourself over, as they like to say. I'm more so just tell them where you're going.
So I'm on Facebook a lot. So Barrett Brown, Barrett Browns. You can find me there. I put a lot of my events on my Facebook page, my Twitter at TCO_BarrettB, and my Instagram at TCOBarrettB. Also my website, www.barrettbrownpro.com. You can find all my social media handles on there as well. And all my events are listed there as well, because usually I cannot keep up in my own head with what events I have coming up, just because there are so many. I know, though, that next weekend I have an off weekend, and I'm kind of excited because my body's worn out.
Oh, man.
Well, I mean, and that goes in line, with whenever I take a booking. It doesn't matter to me, like, how many people are in the crowd. Whoever did pay, they paid their hard-earned money to come watch us perform. So I'm going to make sure they leave happy. Like, my goal every match is to make sure that just in my match alone that they get their money's worth. And so that's what I'm going to do tonight. Like, I don't care if 2 paying customers show up. Like, they're going to get a show tonight.
I love that attitude. From where you were in 2016 to now, do you feel like you made the right choice sticking it out in wrestling? Have you felt that sense of accomplishment, that doubt no longer there for yourself?
100%. Because I think in 2016, the way that I wanted to feel and the way that I wanted people to perceive me as is how I am now. Like, for example, I didn't know he was going to do this. Alex Royal literally called me like a mythical being, a wrestling god for some reason in his promo. And I was like, that's literally what I wanted to be viewed as in 2016. And it's like, I guess I made the right decisions.
I think I would have to agree with that. Final question I ask everybody that's in their interviews. Good. What, and I don't mind if it's as a fan or even as a worker in your case.
Okay.
What is your favorite wrestling memory?
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm going to get kind of personal here.
Okay.
I'm not going to name who this was, because I'll tell you off camera who it was, because you know him, but I won't say it on here. I was messaged somewhat, it may have been like a year and a half or a year ago, by somebody who I wrestled actually for WFC. It was a WFC match. I was sent a random voice message, and I never really communicated with this person outside of in person. So it was very out of left field for me. So I knew it must have been important. It was a voice message that said basically, hey man, I just wanted to reach out to you. I just wanted you to know that my father passed away earlier, which already caught me off guard.
Right.
He said, but I wanted you to know that I spent all day with him yesterday, and we watched wrestling, and he picked a match of mine to watch, and he picked the one of me and you, and he told me that he really loved the match, and he said, I just wanted to thank you for helping me make one more memory with my father before he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And dude, that's like, to me, that meant more than like winning a world title. That, like, I couldn't, like, I had to take a second, like, to kind of cry a little bit. I was like, dude,
I'm getting emotional even
like,
you telling me that.
That's why we do what we do. Like, again, it's the moments, but to make a moment like that, like, unfathomable.
Absolutely. So, I completely get that.
Yeah.
So, one more from me, and this is not even a question, more so a statement.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Absolutely, man.
But more importantly, I saw you back in 2016, like I said, and thought that this guy is going to be a future star. And I still believe that to this day. And you've already shown how much of a star you are there. So as somebody who's gotten to see this genesis to a degree from 2016 to now, I can't be more proud to say that I know you, and I've been so happy for every accomplishment that you had. And I can't even begin to thank you enough for just taking the time to sit down and talk with me for a little bit today.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Guys, Barrett Brown here. Go follow him. Check him out. Check out New Japan Strong. It is an awesome show. And guys, as I always tell people, continue to love pro wrestling.